Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you're joining us today in today's live lecture coming to you from Mahadum Wisdom University. Today's date is Second Market Day in the Igbo lunar calendar and 11/25/2025 in the Roman Catholic calendar. Remember, the reason we are giving you both calendars is for you to know that we Africans, we Igbo people, we Biafrans have our own calendar before the arrival of the colonial masters, Western Europeans, our land. Also, remember that at the College of Hadum, we always advise you to use the naturally given common sense, which we call Akonuche in Igbo language. And because we present our lectures from the Igbo man, from Biafran and African perspectives, from how it concerns us. That is why we are encouraging you to join us. Join us on YouTube. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Twitter and TikTok. And also like, comment, and share. And we always also encourage you to see things, see events, see everything that is going on around this world from how it is affecting you. Don't see it from how it is affecting other cultures. That is why Mahadum Wisdom University is Biafran-centric, is Igbo-centric, and African-centric university. Mahadum is not a content creator. We are not here to create content. Before we present any lecture to you, we must have done our research, and what we are presenting is factual based on research. And we encourage you to do your own research to disprove what we have presented before you start to attack us or present or reject our information. Do your own research and you will agree with us. And so the title of today's lecture is Why Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was taken to Sokoto prison. Of all the prisons in Nigeria, why is it that it is Sokoto prison that they decide to send Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to? This is what you will know at the end of this lecture. What you will know is the reason why Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was transferred to Sokoto prison than any other prison in Nigeria. And we want to start this lecture by taking you back in history to understand that the Sokoto you hear of is the headquarters of the Sokoto Caliphate. And how did the Sokoto Caliphate came to be? Usman Danfodio Jihad of 1804 to 1808 that led to the conquering of the Hausa land and people between 1904 to 1908. So the Fulanese conquered the Hausa people in 1904 to 1808 and took control of the vast land of the Hausa people. And you know, when you take the land, you're also taking the people together. Once you conquer the land, you have also conquered the people. So they have conquered this territory and was running it before the arrival of the British. And so when the British came in 1914, they did what they call the amalgamation, that is the bringing in of Southerners, Southern Protectorate, Southern colony, and the Northern colony together. That was the beginning of the handing over of Southern Nigeria to Northern Nigeria, which is already being controlled by the Fulani Caliphate, the Caliphate. So according to Harold Wilson, they handed the rich South at that time to the poor North. So they handed the Southern Nigeria, which included the Biafran people and the Uruduwa and other tribes, to the Northern people. Who is in control of the North? The Sokoto Caliphate. That is the beginning. And then you can see that when the Fulanis conquered Hausa land in 1804 to 1914 of the amalgamation, that is bringing the southern and northern together by the British. When you minus 1914, when you minus 1804 from 1914, that gives you about 110 years. So the Sokoto Caliphate had been running northern Nigeria for 110 years before their amalgamation of 1914. It is very important to know that the Sokoto Caliphate since 1804, since they conquered Hausa land from 1804 to 1808, has been running Hausa land, have taken over Hausa land until 1914 for about 110 years. They have been in control of northern Nigeria. Now, so at the time of independence of Nigeria in 1960, the flag independence was when the British cemented, completed the handing over of southern Nigeria to the Sokoto Caliphate. And you know that before the final declaration of independence in 1960, the British have already done their groundwork. They rigged the 1953 and 1956 census to favor the North. For the first time in history, we say that the arid North has more population than the rainforest South. But all over the world, rainforest area always have more population than the arid areas. And so they rigged that census to favor the North. They also redrew the map of Nigeria that included the Biafran people, the Igbo people, as part of North Central Nigeria. And North Central Nigeria is being claimed by Fulanese as one North, as Northern Nigeria. The last thing they did was to rig that election, the election that brought in Abubakar Tafawa Balewa of Northern People's Congress in power. They know that he didn't win the election, just like they are rigging the election today in Nigeria. So they rigged that election to make sure that Abubakar Tafawa Balewa of the Northern People's Congress was declared the winner. So that cemented the handing over of southern Nigeria to the Sokoto Caliphate. Because Sokoto Caliphate was the one in charge of northern Nigeria and in charge of Nigeria. Because Harold Wilson also said that the British have a special relationship with the emirs, and who are the emirs accountable to, or accounting to, or responsible to? All the emirs in the north or anywhere else are accountable to Sokoto Caliphate. They are accountable to the Caliphate. And so the flag independence of 1960 actually completed the handing over of Nigeria to the Sokoto Caliphate. And then that independence anniversary wasn't long. The celebration wasn't long when the coup struck of January 1966 coup, followed by the Igbo pogrom and then the Nigerian Biafran War of 1967 and 1970. And that war also completed the conquest of southern Nigeria as a whole, because the caliphate made the Yorubas, which is part of the south, to fight against the Biafran people, the eastern Nigerian people. And When Nigeria declared victory, even though they said no victor, no vanquished, we cannot tell there's a victor and there's a vanquished. That war also completed the conquest of southern Nigeria, including our brothers in the South. Those that said that they're in the South region. So everybody was conquered, and the Fulani Caliphate is in charge, became in charge of the whole Nigeria. They are the one in charge of the government, the security apparatus, the media, diplomatic engagements, natural resources, and others. They are the one in control of Nigeria. If not, why do we have that Sokoto Caliphate there? Why do we still have it? And we have it, and you see all the jihad also going on in the country. And so Nigeria, as you know it today, is in the hand of the Sokoto Caliphate. Now, the illegal trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is actually a trial between Sokoto Caliphate, but when you say Nigeria, you're talking about a Nigeria being managed by the Sokoto Caliphate. It was a trial between Biafra nation and Nigeria and Sokoto Caliphate. That was what that trial is all about. And you can see how all the drama in the courtroom, there's no law to try Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and they just pushing everything. And Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is saying, show me the law, show me the law, and they couldn't show him the law. And on the last day, he was denied his final written address. And he was also asking Omotosha that they show me the law that prevented him from reading his final written address. And Omotosha cannot provide any law. And they just pushed everything, rushed everything, and convicted Mazi Nnamdi Kanu without no law, and then pushed him straight to the prison in Sokoto. So the trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is actually a battle in the courtroom between Biafra and Nigeria. And we say Nigeria and the Sokoto Caliphate. And so that was why immediately after that court conviction on the 20th, on the 21st, because according to Business Day says that less than 24 hours after Justice Omotosha delivered the judgment, Nnamdi Kanu was sent to Sokoto prison. Why Sokoto prison? Sokoto is the headquarters of the Caliphate. And if you do your math, if you do your mathematics, from 2025, we are in 2025 now, minus 1804 from 2025, you will get 221 years that the Sokoto Caliphate have been actually running Nigeria. So they are in charge of Nigeria. That is why they wanted Nnamdi Kanu in Sokoto prison. That is what we want you to know. And another reason why they wanted Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in Sokoto prison is to show Kanu and the Biafrans and the world that the Sokoto Caliphate is in control of Nigeria. To make it clear, because you have had in the past when the Fulani were saying Hausa Fulani, we are Hausa Fulani. When they finally finished with the Hausa people, they now came out with Fulani, we are Fulani, and they are moving with Fulani up till today. In the same way, all these things going on, both the illegal arrest of Mazi and Kanu from Kenya, both how they are dealing with the Biafra agitators and everything, and illegal rendition and trial and everything. You've been doing it under one Nigeria. At the end of the trial, the Sokoto Caliphate took over. That is why they wanted Mazi and Kanu in Sokoto, to show that if you don't know, we are in charge of Nigeria. Another reason is to minimize or prevent Mazi and Kanu from having a lot of visitors coming to him. Had he been like in Abuja or Lagos, no day that about 20 to 50 people will not be going to see Mazi. So they send him far away into northern Nigeria to make sure that people that will be coming to see him will not be much. That's another reason why they send him to prison. And another reason is to demoralize Kanu and the Biafran people and IPOB, to demoralize Kanu, to make Kanu feel that in Sokoto environment is hostile, will be hostile to him, to demoralize him, to weaken him, to make him feel that he's not safe in Sokoto. That's another reason why they sent him to Sokoto prison. And then the final reason why they sent him to Sokoto prison is for the whole world to know that Sokoto Caliphate is in charge of Nigeria as wanted by the British government. Because Britain is the one that created Nigeria. Britain is behind everything that is going on in Nigeria. That is one thing we want you to know. Very, 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 very important. And before we continue, I have to beg you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Press that bell button so that anytime we present a new lecture, you will be the first to get it. And also go back to our previous lectures, and you'll be glad that you did. And also like, comment, and share so that you know how you are feeling, so that the lecture can get to many other. And so we wanted to package this lecture today to let you know that why Mazi and Kanu was sent to Sokoto prison is that the Sokoto Caliphate has been the one in charge of Nigeria. And it started when Usman Dan Fodio conquered the Hausa land and people in the jihad of 1804 to 1808. And then when the British came, they saw that they are already running that place because the Fulanis are conquerors as well as the British. They are all colonial masters. So when the British came and saw that the Fulanis are already on the ground, stabilized the north with their feudal system, with their Islamic feudal system, they say, okay. And the Fulanis were willing to work with them. And so they decided to amalgamate, to join the southern Nigeria with the northern Nigeria. This is what they did in 1914. And we calculated for you, if you remove 1804 from 1914, you will get 110 years. So before amalgamation, the Fulani Caliphate had been, the Fulani Sokoto Caliphate had been running northern Nigeria for 110 years. 110 years is not 110 days or 10 months. It's years, 110 years that they have been running northern Nigeria. And then that amalgamation was the beginning of handing over of southern Nigeria to northern Nigeria. Remember, southern Nigeria includes the Ibuwa nation, the Biafran nation, others. According to history, that the handing over was to hand over the rich southern Nigeria at that time to the poor northern Nigeria, so that the Fulani Caliphate will be in charge. And during the flag independence was the final handing over of the southern Nigeria to the Sokoto Caliphate. Because before they handed over in 1960, they already rigged the census to determine the people that will vote in their democracy, in their foreign democracy. They rigged the numbers to say that the arid north has more population than the rainforest southern Nigeria. And then they also redrew the map of Nigeria, including some people in central Nigeria, which they call northern Nigeria. And finally, the election that brought in Tafawa Balewa, in 1960, that election was also rigged for Northern People's Congress to win the election. And if you minus, that is 1960 minus 1804, that the Fulani Jihad happened in Hausa land, you will get 156 years. So from 1960, when Britain handed over the whole country to the Sokoto Caliphate, from 1960 minus 1804, you will get 156 years that the Fulanis, the Sokoto Caliphate, now manage the north and then the south. And then the Nigeria Biafra War of 1967, you know that soon after that handover, things weren't going well. A lot of corruption, a lot of religious issues. Same thing that we are having today was going on at that period. And then there was this January coup. Nigerians did a January coup to save the country, which they armed Igbo coup. And then from there, the Igbo program, and then the Nigerian Civil War, Nigerian Biafra Civil War, 67 to 70. And that war, by the end of that war, by defeating Biafra, which they call no victor, no vanquished, there's a victor and there's a vanquished, cemented the conquest of southern Nigeria into the hands of the Sokoto Caliphate, because the Oduduwa people, the West, were opted to fight with the northern people against the Easterners. And so when the Oduduwa people were fighting, and some of our brothers, which they call in the coastal region, which they call South, rejecting the Biafran restoration, Biafran nation. Little did they know that they are being conquered as well. So after that war, the whole Nigeria, everything was cemented for the Fulani Sokoto Caliphate. And they became completely in charge of both the Nigerian government, both the security forces, the media, diplomatic engagements, natural resources, and others. They are everywhere. So they are in charge of Nigeria. And now, the illegal trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, you should know, is actually between the Sokoto Caliphate, which they hid. They hide it under Nigeria, under one Nigeria. That trial you see is between the Biafran nation and the Nigerian Sokoto Caliphate. That's what happened. That was why Business Day said that less than 24 hours after that judgment, that was when they quickly sent Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to that prison in Sokoto. Because Sokoto is the headquarters of the Sokoto Caliphate. It's the headquarters. And we did a match for you. Now we are in 2025. 2025 minus 1804, when the jihad started in the north, we give you 221 years that the Fulani Caliphate have been in this business. So they are in charge of Nigeria. And other reasons why the send Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to Sokoto prison is to show Kanu and Biafran that Sokoto Caliphate is in charge of Nigeria. That you should know now that we are in charge. We are in charge of Kanu. And then also to prevent, minimize visitors that will be coming to see Kanu. Because if he was in Lagos or Abuja, no day passed that 50 or more people will not be going to that prison to see him. He will receive a lot of visitors. They don't want him to see a lot of visitors. And again, they want him to be demoralized, to feel that he's in a hostile environment. This and other reasons may be the reason why also they send him to that Sokoto prison. And then the final lesson is for Biafrans and the whole world to know that the Sokoto Caliphate is in charge of Nigeria as wanted by the British government. Because it was the Britain that created Nigeria. Britain got Nigeria out of the 1884, 1885 Berlin Conference, in which the colonizers brought up the map of Africa and divided the land of Africa to themselves. That was where Britain got this Nigerian area, this area called Nigeria, as their own. So Nigeria, as presently constituted, is created by Britain. And whatever Britain wants is what is going on in that country today. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. So before we end it, we have to encourage you to join Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to dismantle all these colonial boundaries. Because the boundary you have today called Nigeria is a colonial boundary. That's what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is trying to dismantle, so that the Biafran nation can be by themselves. The Middle West can be themselves, do what will be themselves, then the Hausas will be free to manage their land. So support him. And with this, please share it, like it, comment, and join us at Column and Wisdom University, because everything we are presenting is after a thorough research. We are not content creators. We are an university. And you know, not everybody wants to learn, but knowledge and continuous learning and using what you have learned to make changes in your life is what matters. We are not content creators. Join this university and you will not regret that you have done. Thank you very much for joining us. Also, our next lecture is coming up by 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is 9 p.m. Nigerian time. That lecture will cover religious wars and the Fulani religious wars in Nigeria, and that war, that religious war you see going on in Nigeria, cannot stop. The religious wars and the Fulani war going on in Nigeria right now will not stop. Join us in that lecture also. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a great day. Bye-bye.